2022, and I hereby call to order the Board of Voter Registration and Elections of Beaufort County monthly board meeting. At this time, will you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Before we get started, we need to, our minutes from our emergency meeting held earlier this month on February 8th was not on the agenda, so do I have a motion to add it to the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Caroline, and second, Beverly. So, do we have, before we begin, do we have any public comments? No? Okay. Our minutes from January 26, 2022 were sent out via email. Do we have, is there any discussion or changes that we need to, that anyone thinks need to be made to those? No? Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
So move.
Beverly, thank you. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Our minutes from the February 8th emergency meeting, any discussion on those? Do we have a motion to approve those?
So move.
Thank you, Bernadette. Second?
Second.
Jim? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. So unfinished business. The only unfinished business that we have is the poll worker information breach. We've been in contact with Ron Davis, who is the CEO of EasyVote, and he said the investigation is ongoing and there's no indication on who conducted the breach or how much information they were able to receive. We still don't know that. But to date, there have only been 2 records found from poll managers in Beaufort County. And they're being sent a letter this week from EasyVote itself, and they're offering 1 year of credit monitoring through Experian at Identity Works. And so at this time, that is all that we know, which isn't a whole lot more than we knew a week ago, but that's what they're offering. That's the email that he sent out. They're offering from Experian, Identity Works, 1 year of credit monitoring to make sure that their information is not being used. Does anybody have anything else to add with that? Nope. Okay. We're going to move on to the committee reports. Before we jump right into that, there have been a couple of changes made to our committees. Mr. Wedgeworth is our newest board commissioner, and he has been added to the Finance Committee and the Reprecincting Committee. We just need a motion to approve those changes to the committees.
So moved.
Caroline, thank you. Craig Pelley, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, so Facilities Committee, Mr. Clifford, I give you the floor. Do you have anything?
Yes. I contacted Eric whatever,
Greenway.
the county administrator at office, and told him that I would like to go out and look at that building that several people had already looked at. Audrey called me back. I'm assuming that's the gal that took you out there. And told me in no uncertain terms that she didn't have a key and wasn't going to take me out there. And I said, okay, that's fine. I just thought, since I'll be there today for a board meeting, that if I could meet you 30, 40 minutes ahead of time, I could look at it. Well, why didn't you look at it with everybody else? Anyway, it went through a big rigmarole, and then I got a call from Eric reiterating that they were not going to do anything to clean that building. They're not going to do anything more than what's already done. They might help us if we want to put a wall in or do something like. I said, well, from the reports I got from the people in our office, I'm not sure we'll be storing anything in that building anyway. And he said, that's fine, and that was the end of that. So I guess we're gonna have to go out on our own, find a building if we've got it, and have to look and see what kind of money we have in the budget to rent a place. But we're gonna have to just go find our own building. But I asked him, is there any other buildings available that are, you know, in a different situation than those buildings? And he said, no, nothing available. Said, you'll just have to figure that out on your own and rent your own building. And I said, okay, fine. So that's kind of where we are. Not a lot of help, but that was yesterday when I finally got a hold of him and her. So
I'm confused, I don't understand. I thought we were just waiting on security for us to use that building. We can't use it at all anymore?
well, no, we can use it.
Okay.
I talked to, but we can all discuss it. I don't know who all looked at it. No, Marie looked at it, Wendell looked at it, Vern looked at it. Everything I heard back that it wasn't suitable to put any of our stuff in there because it's so filthy. There's either some leaks in the roof, it smells like mold. Maybe you guys could comment since you saw it. First thing she asked me when I got her on the phone was, when did you look at the building? And I said, I haven't looked at the building. That's why I'm calling you to see if I can get a key to go out there and just look at the thing. And she said, nope, you should have looked at it when they looked at it. So,
If I may, Mr. Clifford, myself and the warehouse crew from the office, along with Wendell, we went out on Tuesday and looked at the building, and I can sum it up in one word, is that it's unacceptable for election material and supplies. It's unacceptable. So I know that means we pretty much have to start all over from scratch on trying to find a decent storage facility, but I think that's what we may have to do because our equipment and supplies are too delicate and too precious to be in an environment like that. So
yeah.
I know that sounds kind of ungrateful, and I'm not ungrateful. I was under the impression a whole lot more was going to be done to that building until I got out there and was told that that's it. So in the form that it's in, or the present state that it's in, my recommendation is that we not accept it as a storage.
Actually, in response to that, I talked to Mark Rosano about 2-3 months ago, and he said, yeah, we've got this building, we're cleaning it, you can't go in it now. And I said, when can we? He said, I'm not sure because we're cleaning it all up and getting it, you know, all cleaned out so it's ready for people to look at. And then you can go in. I told Eric that. He said, no, you're not cleaning it. It's clean as it's going to get right now. And I said, okay, fine. So the stories I'm getting from several different people they're kind of like this. So I don't know what to do about it other than just go rent our own building.
Is this the old pillow factory? Is that?
Yeah, yeah. In fact, now she's saying that nobody should even work in that building. You can store stuff in there, but you shouldn't be in there.
We just
Sorry?
wanted it as a storage.
Huh?
We didn't want to work in the building,
No.
we just wanted it as a storage.
Okay. All right, Mr. Pelley with the Finance Committee.
My notes are attached.
I didn't hear you.
Everybody has a copy of them.
Did the facilities committee meet?
And the date's missing. We met on February the 4th and went over the information with Wendell, the budget for next year, or starting July the 1st. And like I said, my notes are there and we're all set. Wendell, do you have any comments on that? On the budget?
No, the update, remember that $10,000?
Right.
It was already in the final, but it just went over to the side. That was only different.
Okay.
And I did update that when I sent y'all back.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Okay. The Legislative Affairs Committee, Ms. Beverly.
And that's Bernadette.
Oh, I'm sorry, I read my thing wrong. Bernadette, I'm sorry. Bernadette.
The Legislative Committee met on February the 3rd at 4:30 p.m. Members present were our chair, Jean Felix, Beverly Dore, Caroline Furman, Craig Pelley, myself, and Marie Smalls, our director. The purpose of the meeting was to discuss the 2022 SCARE legislative priorities and voting legislation being discussed, considered during this legislative session. Having an understanding of the priorities would enlighten board members to be able to discuss them with members of the legislative delegation. Marie shared that some of the provisions allowed in 2020 elections due to COVID-19 has expired. For example, in-person absentee voters will not be allowed to scan their ballots on the day they vote. If these provisions are not changed legislatively, all ballots cast prior to election day will be secured in sealed ballot boxes and locked in a secured place until election day. The 2022 legislative priorities for SCARE we discussed included changes to in-person absentee voting must be made prior to the vote being cast on a machine. All challenges must be presented to the board for consideration, and once ballots are cast, there is no way to withdraw the vote. Number 2, allow for the opening of return absentee ballot envelopes to begin at 7 a.m. the day before the elections. There is not enough time allowed to open ballots and to tabulate them after polls close. However, being allowed to begin to open ballots prior to election day would help to improve the tabulation process and reporting results on election day. Number 3, counties should receive full reimbursement for poll managers and absentee clerks. Number 4, improve election security by syncing DMV changes for voter registration. We also discussed House Bill 4621, which requires the South Carolina Election Commission Executive Director to establish rules and regulations for voter registrations performed by private entities. We had a brief discussion about what is meant by private entities. It was shared that private entities are groups that voluntarily register voters in the community. In the past, before voters were allowed to do this, it was required that they be trained by an election or voter registration official. This assured that all volunteers understood election laws and proper voter registration procedures. It was also encouraged to follow the status of voting legislation using the website www.scstatehouse.gov. Also, the South Carolina Association of Counties published a Friday's report that highlight bills being debated and new bills being introduced during the week. This is a tool that can be used to keep up with what's going on in the Senate and the House. The website is www.sccounties.org. Ms. Furman was supposed to reach out to, volunteered to reach out to Representative Newton for a meeting with our legislative committee or our board. And the meeting was adjourned at 5:23 p.m. Ms. Furman, have you had an opportunity? They're in session right now. Okay. All right, so that's my report.
Thank you, Bernadette. Now the Reprecincting Committee, which is Ms. Beverly Dore. Thank you.
The Reprecincting Committee was scheduled to meet on February 22nd. However, the meeting was changed due to a scheduling conflict to this coming Friday, February 25th at 3 o'clock via WebEx. We thought that it would be, at least I thought that it would be a good idea, if it's okay with the other committee members, to open up this committee so that we can hear firsthand what your perceptions and what your recommendations are regarding reprecincting. And if that's okay, on Friday, when we have the WebEx meeting at 3, we'll open it up so that any board member can chime in and provide recommendations right there on the spot. Included in your packets, we have updated information on every precinct in the county, starting at precinct 101 through precinct 369. Please take a very careful look at this information. It is very, very detailed. It goes into detail about how many registered voters we have as opposed to the number of voting age populations within each precinct. This is very interesting information because I noticed that a couple of precincts had more voting age populations listed than it did regular voters. Well, that's the case in most of them, which points to the need to do more voter registration. But you need to look at those two categories to compare. You may find a few discrepancies, and I was talking today with Marie about what accounts for that discrepancy between having more voters than voting age population, having more voting voters than the voting age population, which sounds odd, but some people didn't participate in the census. So that accounts for that discrepancy to a large extent. Also, included in your packet, I have Beaufort County Council members and their districts that are in a color format. I can send this to you by email and you will have the color
They have it, Ms.
version.
Beverly, they have it.
They have the black and white version, but I'm thinking that I will send them the color version, so we'll give them a little bit more distinction there. And also, you have another copy of the district elected officials at the Senate level, Senate and House levels, which is also very good information, and it correlates back to the chart that gives what precinct has what county council number, what district number correlates with the particular precinct. As mentioned earlier, James Wedgeworth has been added to the Reprecincting Committee, and we look forward to having him participate. So if there are any questions about the purpose or the direction that this committee is headed in, we know that we would like to ideally have about 1,500 voters per polling place, per precinct. And this is what we're going to look at for each precinct on this chart in the county. Are there any other questions? Any questions? We look forward to meeting with you on Friday at 3.
Thank you. And Mr. Rowe with the Rules Committee.
He's got goodies.
Just when you thought you weren't gonna have any homework to do. These are the changes that have been made so far to the manual. They are reflected through the first committee assignment today.
Black one, or you got a red one?
Okay.
I'm sorry.
There's one in every class. So
Thank you.
If the changes to committee members to adoption of laws since the last one, thank you. Since the last one passed out.
Thank you.
You will. Thank you. Let me get one for you, Aline. I am counting on the collective and individual recommendations to come through. And what I mean by that is, I've taken a brush to this thing, but I'm not quite there yet. Point being, if there's any subject, any procedure that has not been covered in this manual that you think fits into this, please share that with me. The 3 changes that were made, 4 changes actually, specifically made, were rather than you have to thumb through it all?
You need to talk in the microphone.
Okay. There's the revisions page, the board members, the information about that, board area assignments and committee assignments. Through today, it's reflective of Mr. Widgeworth's move over to the 2 committees that he's been assigned. So again, I ask that by Friday, March 4th, or sooner, please give me your thoughts on what you see or you don't see in here. And I know there is some difficulty trying to distinguish at times what we've done in the past. Ron's name appears in this as the appointing official, as the approving official, clear back to 2014. That still holds. That authority rests. All we need to do is take a quick look, or longer, concerning what you need and the committee to continue to uncover and decipher by the 4th of March, please. After that, we're going to press. Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question. I have
Please call me.
observation. Me and Mr. Pelley went through the training together. We were both appointed toward the end of 2018, but I'm listed as March 2018, and he's listed as October 2018.
What is your question?
My letter says mine says October 16th, but so I have no idea why.
Okay, well, we both went through the training at the same time. We came on at the same.
No, you went through the training at the same time, but your the governor appointed you. That will be determined by the letter that you receive. So look at the letter that you received from the governor, and that will tell you when your appointment is.
Okay.
He doesn't have it.
I'll have to look at that when I get home.
Okay.
Thank you.
I don't know what it is.
So it's not the swearing in date.
I'm sorry?
It's not the date that we were sworn
No.
in.
Right.
So please, any questions, give me a call. I know there are a couple of folks on the board that expressed interest in taking a closer look at it. I'm not asking that you become part of the rules committee. Not gonna lay that one on you, but if you do have any questions, please look through perfect example. Look through for dates that apply to you, terms that apply to you, etc. It's a good time, frankly, to make sure we can work to clean that up. Any questions so far?
I think it looks very good. I am going to,
I appreciate that very much. Before I go, I was absolutely remiss. That young lady sitting right back there, once again, her name is Chris Weitz, for the record. She is, nobody does the job that Chris does. She does a great job. I have come to rely on her. She's pulled me out of more than one fire, I can only tell you. And been very calm and cool about it. Point being, this could not have been presented today, or any day in my estimation, better than this young lady prepared for this meeting.
Okay.
And we collectively appreciate that, Chris.
thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Gene, you hadn't even looked at that.
Who knows?
Okay,
And that ends my report.
all right, thank you. New business, please remember to submit your list of poll workers to the office staff as soon as possible. We're running out of time, but if we can get them before the end of March, then that gives us ample time to make sure everybody is briefed prior to this upcoming election. And with that, I'll give it to you, Marie.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone.
Hello.
We're gonna talk briefly, I hope, about some of the updates to the legislative agenda. I can move it? Oh, okay. Goody good. What am I pointing at?
Probably got to shoot up here, I would think.
It's not working.
Go ahead, screen. bidding instead of, he said he's working, he did. Okay.
We're gonna also have some election updates, facility updates, and miscellaneous updates. Not a whole lot, but since we met last, the bill that's getting a lot of traction is the early voting bill, which is House Bill 4919. And these are summaries. I would advise you all to go online and read the bill in full, but these are some summaries of the bill. It's talking about a 2 weeks early voting period from Monday through Saturday, 8:30 to 6:00 p.m. Now, this is something that's been one of SCARE's priority for many, many years, is to introduce early voting in the state of South Carolina. We, of course, just called it early voting. We didn't set the time frame or whatever, but the legislators came up with a time frame, which would be 2 weeks of early voting. And that means in-person absentee voting will go away as we know it. I mean, a lot of folks refer to in-person absentee as early voting anyway, and we constantly are correcting them on the correct terminology in the state of South Carolina. So now when they approach us with the early voting question, we will be able to respond without any correction to that. Now, there are pros and cons of every bill that's going to be introduced in the legislature, but we have to start somewhere. Now, since this bill was introduced, it's already received a lot of amendments to it. So this is the original form and summation of what was originally introduced, but last Thursday, there were several amendments made to it. The county board will establish the early voting locations, and based on our number of registered voter, we would be allowed 4 early voting locations. And there are some restrictions based on the distance. Well, that was in the original bill. There was an amendment to that, which would allow the board to decide where these locations are without the 10 miles restrictions that were initially placed in the bill. So there will be some flexibility on where those early voting sites will be. Candidates can only appear on the ballots for a single election, and this is something that's been introduced several times over, which means that a candidate can only file for one office during a single election, and they can only have their name on the ballot once. And we call it fusion candidate, where they may be running in a general election in the Green Party and the Libertarian Party at the same time. Both names will be appearing the same name will be appearing in under both party. And this bill would eliminate that, only allowing them an opportunity to appear in one party. Remove vacation and employment as a reason for voting absentee, and this is male absentee. And add the elector will be away from their county of residence for the duration of the early voting period and election day. So in other words, I'm going to be on vacation, or due to my employment, I need to vote absentee. That will change. Those reasons will not be there. The reason will be I will be away from my county during the early voting period or on election day, which would allow them an opportunity to vote absentee. Now, one thing to note about the early voting process, there will not be a reason for voting early. You can just go and vote. You don't have to come up with one of the 17 reasons for wanting to vote early.
Absentee application must contain a voter driver's license number or some other personal or unique ID associated with a current government-issued ID. And of course, that section of the bill had gotten a lot of debate on it, and there was an amendment proposed. I think that also happened last Thursday, and that will be, it's now where they would just need to use the last 4 digit of their social security number and some other specification. I don't remember all the details behind that. Because again, these are just being proposed. Nothing has been finalized yet. Authorized returnee must present photo ID. The form will have a place to select what type of ID is being provided. So if somebody is bringing a ballot, an absentee ballot, or returning an absentee ballot to the office, that person who's returning the ballot must present some form of ID to whoever is accepting, the office staff that's accepting that ballot. Mail ballot witness must be signed, and their name must also be printed on the outer envelope of the absentee ballot. There was another bill, and that's House Bill 4919. It's a pretty big bill. House Bill 4150 and 3372 pretty much are the same bill, have some of the same provision as 4919. House Bill 4882 is requiring that the State Election Commission to develop certain security protocols for its election equipment. And there's a list of things that they outline on that. And one of the features, or one of the things that they're also asking, is that the ballot cards to be sole sourced by the State Election Commission. And what that means is that all counties will be getting their ballot cards from the State Election Commission. And we can't go, which right now is pretty much a sole sourced product, because we can only get it from the company that we use, that we have our voting machine through, which is ES&S. So I'm not sure how all that would work. These are things that's being proposed.
Will any additional information be on the ballot cards? Don't the ballot cards already come blank?
I'm sorry?
The ballot cards, don't they come blank already? So will
Yes.
there be any additional information? They'll just be the regular ballot cards that we already get?
Well, there are a lot of things that's including in this. They also want a certain special paper for ballots to be printed on. But the ballot cards right now, we order our ballot cards through ES&S. They want us to order it through the State Election Commission. So I'm not sure how all that will work, but if it's passed as a law, we will figure it out.
Yeah.
As usual.
Poll book security, all these are standards. Pretty much Bill 4882 is talking about process procedures and standards that's been is being required by the State Election Commission. And once those things are done, they will be passed on to the counties. And here goes, the ballot shall be printed on security paper that incorporate features that can only be used to authenticate the ballot as an official ballot. So that's, to me, it's like some kind of watermark or something may need to be on the ballot. So you won't be able to see it probably with your naked eyes, but there will be some kind of way to identify that this is an official a ballot. Again, I'm not sure how all that will work and when will it go into effect, but that's being proposed by our legislators. As a matter of fact, mostly by one in Beaufort County, Mr. Weston Newton. This is mostly his bill. voting equipment can't be connected to the internet or have the capability to be connected to the internet. Of course, we don't connect any of our voting equipment to the internet, but this is just, I guess, reaffirming and confirming that we don't do it. All optical scan systems have to keep an image that is maintained by a subsystem independent and distinct from the main vote detection. I have no idea what that means. I'm sorry. I was trying to make it make sense to me, but that's how it's written, and I'm not sure what it means by that. I can assume that it's talking about we keep an image of all the ballots. I'm not sure, but if it's passed, we will figure it all out. All electronic records of configuration, software logs, security devices, ballot images, hardware, and voting system firmware must be preserved for the same amount of time that state or federal law requires for all other election-related material. And we pretty much do that already. But again, maybe there's something in particular that they're looking for, but we do that already. Now we are moving. Any questions about the legislative bills that are being proposed? Again, you have those websites that is in Bernadette's report, and I would suggest that every Friday, just go to the website and look at what's being introduced on a weekly basis. It does do a good job. The Friday reports, which is sponsored by the South Carolina Association of Counties, they update us on all the bills that are being proposed during the week. And I usually go through it, pull out the ones that are election related, and those are the ones that, of course, we are interested in, but there are so many others too as well. There will be, I forgot to tell you this, but you will know now, there will be a special election on May the 31st. This will be with the Hilton Head Public Service District, voting district number 4. One of their members will be resigning on March the 1st. And if that does happen, there will be a special election. I'm saying resigning. They are resigning because they're moving out of that district and they will no longer be eligible to represent that district, which will affect a special election. And if that does happen on the 1st, the election will be on the 31st of May. All righty. And the status of redistricting. Ms. Beverly did a wonderful report on redistricting. And the redistricting, it has a lot of facet to it. So the county council met, I think since y'all met, and approved, had the third reading for the county council recommendations on redistricting, and that's already a done deal. It's passed and approved. It has been submitted to the Fiscal Affairs Department up in Columbia. And we have been working diligently with the GIS department, who they do a fantastic job, guys. And they have been working with us to make sure that we get all the district information, not just from county council, but the House, the Senate, and the congressional maps that we need to complete what we need to do to make sure all of our voters are recorded in the correct district. On that report from Ms. Beverly, you will note that it's not just the number of registered voters in the precinct, but you will also have the district information for those precincts as well, which include the congressional district, the Senate district, the House, county council, and school board. All of that's included on that report that Ms. Beverly shared with you all. Now, to the average person, those numbers probably don't mean a hill of bean of anything. But that's why we gave you the county council members with their district numbers and the senators and House of Representatives with their district numbers. So you will know who represent what districts. And that will help you better understand what that report is. I know it's a lot of numbers, codes that most people don't even realize what it means. But when you are issued a voter registration card, all of your district information is on your voter registration card. Unfortunately, most people will tear off that district information. When your voter registration card comes out, you have a blue section and a white section, and it's perforated between the blue and the white. And most people will just discard the white information and keep the one with their name and address and their polling location on it, but throw away the district information. Well, the district information is the important information because it tells you who represents you in what district. So that's something to educate our voters on, is whether or not, who represent them. So that's just a little sidebar there. So we have made our changes, not all. We are in the process of making our changes to our street files. And our street files in our county housed all of our district information. That's how a voter is assigned to their district. And that's why we have to have a physical address for every voter when they register to vote, not a post office box or a UPS box, which we found that there were several voters in our counties last year was registered at a post office address, or UPS or mail service address, which is not acceptable. We have to have your residence. Your residence will determine your your house number, and your street name will determine the precinct and the districts, that you are eligible to vote in, your district information. So we are in the process of updating all of our street files along with the State Election Commission, and staff will be doing those that are what we call split precincts. Split precincts means there's more than one county council maybe in a district, or more than one House seat in a district. And so we have to physically go into our street records and make sure those house numbers are corresponding with the correct district. And that's what we are in the process of doing right now. It will be done by the time candidate filing begins, which is March 16th. Even if we have to pull in overtime to do it, it will be done. Okay. Yes?
How many precincts does that PSD special election affect?
How many precincts are in the PSD?
I'm just curious.
Probably about 7. Is that 7? Somewhere around there. It's a good many of them.
Yeah.
Mostly in your section.
Yeah.
On the south end.
Thanks a lot.
Dodge the bullet.
Yeah. Now, you can always solicit Mr. Wedgeworth to help you out on that day.
It's the law. I didn't read that anywhere.
No comment.
So we had 47 precincts that had district changes to it. Out of our 95 precincts, we had 47 that had district changes to it, and 48 that didn't. So that's the status of redistricting and reprecincting. Ms. Beverly mentioned the fact that we have several precincts, I think she did, that are over the 1,500 required by law. We do have an issue with this because we just don't have any place to move these people, even if we split these precincts. We don't have polling locations to relocate them. So it's going to be a challenge in the coming months for us to look at these precincts that are over the 1,500 and determine how they're going to be housed. You know, the whole idea is not to have so many people reporting to one location, but in some cases, we can't help it. We just don't have place to take them. So even if we split the precinct, they may end up still being in the same facility. So that's something else we need to talk to our legislators about, is maybe change that law that make the 1,500 a requirement. Again, all changes in precincts must go through the legislative process, which means we can make a recommendation, but it still have to be approved by the General Assembly. And it's usually introduced as a bill by our legislators, our delegation. So I don't know how this will work, if we're going to try and do this before the November election, but again, this is going to be a discussion in the reprecincting, redistricting meeting on Friday. I'm hoping that we figure out a way on when we want to make these changes. If we try to do it before November, we must remember that the session ends sometime in May. So if we don't get a bill to them or get it introduced before the session ends, it will be next year before it's done. So we just need to keep that in mind. And we've already talked about the facility, and my one word is up there, it's unacceptable. Any questions? Well, that concludes my report. Oh, no, it's not. This is miscellaneous updates. The SCARE Mid-Year Conference, please change your calendars, has been changed to April the 3rd through the 5th and not the 10th through the 12th, okay? And we are losing one of our family members, Miss LaTara Grant. She is being transferred to the IT department. So we will have a vacancy in a couple of days.
That was quick.
Is that it?
What's it gonna be?
That ends my report, right?
Thank you.
Oh, no, I have something else. And I think Mr. Pelley mentioned this, that the 2023 budget has been approved by the board and submitted to the county for review. Now I'm finished.
Okay.
Ethnic one.
The ethics form,
Yes.
it's due on the 30th
Here at the last meeting.
March.
Where did we say the SCARE conference? Was it gonna be virtual or in person?
It's in person, correct? The mid-year conference is
It's in person.
And where is it going to be?
It's going to be at the Holiday Inn,
Okay.
Holiday Inn in Beaufort or?
Beaufort.
Okay.
Beaufort is hosting the mid-year conference, and you weren't here the last time, so I'm sorry. Beaufort will be hosting the mid-year conference, and it will start on Sunday. I still have the wrong date on there?
You can play the ethics forms in the.
I think you pulled up the wrong report. The mid-year conference will start on a Sunday, the 3rd of April, and it will go through Tuesday at noon on the 5th. And you will be getting an agenda, a tentative agenda, because it's still being worked on, but we will have all day on that Monday, we will have sessions, which will include the State Election Commission presentations and no classes. There will be no classes at the SCARE Mid-Year Conference. And hopefully a presentation from the post office as well.
Does anybody have anything else to add? No? Reminder, the ethics filings are due prior to March 30th,
In the wrong
2022.
report.
If you're having problems logging in, you can ask Chris, but they've got a new website. So if you go to the website, there's phone numbers that you can call. I looked at it today. I should have written down the phone number, but there's a phone number that you can call and they can help you get in so that you can get your ethics form done to file electronically. Our next board meeting is scheduled for March 23rd at 2 p.m. here at Council Chambers. And if nobody has anything to add, I think that's all we have. Yes, Craig.
I was gonna move to.
Oh, okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn this meeting? Craig, thank you. Mr. Wedworth, second. This meeting is adjourned.